Hi. I wanted to do something that I've not been good at with you all, and that is kind of bring you in a little bit to my own journey. Now, Connie is so good at her keeping up with Dave and Connie, posting where she's at and what she's going through. And so often when I read what she's written, I'm going, well, yeah, me too. And I'm not always as good as she is at expressing where I'm at. And it's been a strange journey for me. And I just feel like now I can start to talk about things without, without feeling like I'm trying to dig something up or say something bad about some situation or some person. I never want to do that because I've always believed it's not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens to you. And I want to be a man after God's heart, and I want to be teachable. So I thought one of the fun things I could do is kind of bring you into where I'm at, because that's kind of how I roll. And I've started reading a book called The Cure. And I can hold this up and have you look at it, but you're going to see it backward in a mirror. And it's not going to make sense, but it's called The Cure. And it's written by John Lynch, Bruce McNichol, and Bill Thrall. But in his first chapter, he's talking about two lies that we have fallen into, because basically the subtitle of The Cure is this: what if God isn't who you think he is? What if God isn't who you think he is, and neither are you? And he starts out by saying, really, there's two lies we've come to believe. And we do not see God as he is, and we do not see ourselves as we are. So he starts this book with kind of a parable of a man on life's road. And he comes to this fork in the road, but he tells it in a story form. So I want to just read this to you. And this is a great time to have the phone on, but don't look at my face. Go do the dishes or do something. But listen to the story of a man coming to the fork of the road, again, with the understanding we don't see God the way he really is, and we don't see ourselves the way we really are. I start here. I don't even notice at first, but suddenly 10 feet in front of me, where I'm going, are two different ways, and I realize I have no idea which way to go. It's a fork in the road. I'm staring at the intersection, like this could make it go away. That's when I notice the tall pole with two arrows at the top, pointing down each fork. What's written on them is even more confusing than the fork. One arrow pointing left reads, pleasing God. The other one leading right reads, trusting God. You're kidding. I'm supposed to choose between these two? I'm not doing that. Choosing one means not choosing the others. Choosing trusting God means I'm not pleasing God. Choosing pleasing God means I'm not trusting God. It's like being asked to choose between your heart and lungs. What I want is a bypass, but there is no bypass. I look up at the trusting God sign. This has to be a trap, a trick question. It sounds good, but it doesn't give me anything to do. It's too passive. How will I make a difference? If God and I are going to be in sync, there's got to be something more than trust. If the issue is me, I'm probably not going to figure out my destiny simply by trusting that God can be trusted. I move over to the pleasing God sign, pointing down the path to the left. This has to be it. After all he's done for me, the very least I can do is please him. So I set off on the path of pleasing God, shaded by towering oaks. I'm encouraged to see this path is well traveled, beaten level with the feet of 1,000,000 travelers. Many of them, in fact, are still on the path. The first group I pass is a trio of buskers strumming guitars and a mandolin. We nod to each other politely. A little while on, there's a family of 5 camping just 30 yards off the path, next to a brook. Even farther, a middle-aged couple basked in the sun by the side of the road. Hello, I wave. Will I see you later on? Nope. The man is smiling but firm. We left the room of good intentions some time ago. We can't see going back. Okay, I responded, confused. I'm not sure what the room of good intentions is, but not everyone wants to please God, I guess. After a long while, passing many more travelers by the wayside, I see a giant building looming in the distance. It looks like a hotel. As I get closer, I can see there's writing in bronze lettering across the front. The writing says, striving hard to be all God wants me to be. Finally, something for me to do. I strive after success in my career. I strive after keeping fit. Why would it be any less with God? I draw closer and notice a door. Above the doorknob, a small ornate plaque is bolted to the heavy wooden door. Self-effort, it reads. Of course, does his part, and I do mine. It's about time someone said it. I turn the handle and walk in. I'm stunned to find a huge room filled with thousands of people. I scan the group, trying to take it all in. So these are the people really living for Jesus. Soon I notice there's a woman, a hostess maybe, standing next to me. She's immaculately groomed. Every hair is perfectly in place, her makeup accentuating her features, her smile wide and toothy. Nothing about her seems out of place. Welcome to the room of good intentions. She says it clean and cool, like she's been greeting people all her life. There's just the tiniest little shred about it that's unsettling. But I'm excited to finally be here. I don't think much of it. You have no idea how long I've waited to find this place. I return her smile. Grasping her primly outstretched hand, I call out to the crowd almost involuntarily, "Hey, how's everyone doing?" The room goes silent. It's full of beautiful people, smiling people. Some of them wear elaborately crafted masks, which is great because I love masquerades. This looks like my kind of place. One man steps forward. His smile, like the hostess, is broad. His bleached white teeth look as if they have been lined up by a ruler. "Welcome," he begins, shaking my hand firmly. "We're fine. Thank you for asking. Just fine. Aren't we, everyone?" A few in the crowd behind him nod, smiling along. "My kids are all doing great, and I'm about to close some very lucrative deals at work. More fit than when I was in high school. I'm telling you, I'm doing fine, just fine. Everyone here is." Before I can reflect on how strange that sounded, the hostess asks how I'm doing. Me? Well, to be honest, I've been struggling with some stuff. That's partly why I'm here. I'm trying to figure out... Shh! She interrupts me, putting a flawlessly manicured index finger to her lip. She reaches behind a podium and pulls out a mask, handing it to me. She nods her head with a curt smile, indicating I should put it on. I stare at it for a moment. Others in the room are excitedly motioning for me to do so. Slowly, I slide the mask over my face. My next thought is, it might be best to back off in this self-revelation. I find myself answering as if from somewhere far away. "You know, I'm great. I'm doing fine." And everyone in the room smiles before returning to their conversation. This is the room of good intentions. The main entrance hall is massive and ornate, winding stairways leading to upper levels where cascading fountains are ringed with beautifully upholstered sofas and chairs. There are doorways leading to ballrooms, dining halls, and fancily appointed living quarters. Everything is white marble and gold leaf. It's gorgeous and opulent. Across the back wall there are huge embroidered banners. "Working on my sin to achieve an intimate relationship with God," it reads. Finally, someone saying what I've been experienced all those years. Early on, when I first believed, he and I were so close. Then over time, I kept failing. I'd do something stupid. I'd promise I wouldn't do it anymore. Then I'd fail at the same thing again. Before long, it felt like he was on the other side of an ever-growing pile of garbage I created. I imagined him farther away each day with his arms folded, shaking his head, thinking, I had so much hope for you, this kid, but he's let me down so many times. But looking across this room, I now know I can change all that. This room is impressive. The decorations are nice enough, but you can feel the courage and diligence. You can almost taste the full-hearted fervency, the accomplishment, the head-on determination. There's a Fortune 500 executive who's given away 90% of his wealth to charity. There is a lead pastor of a thriving network of churches, a dynamic communicator whose theological insights are heard the world over. I meet a girl elegant, even in her simple worn dress, who has devoted nearly all her energy to providing medical supplies to the untouched in Kolkata. So many good-hearted people fill this room. They have devoted themselves to God, to studying His character, to pouring themselves into spreading His word, to serving humanity in the name of Jesus. This must be it. Soon God and I will be close again. Weeks run into months in this room, and the slight unease starts to creep in. It gets stronger by the day, but I can't put my finger on it at first. I'm noticing many in here talk in a sort of semi-joking, put-down banter. It's familiar, but a bit off. And standing this long on the edge of insider conversations, I realize I never noticed how annoying or obvious the subtle bragging sounds. Even through those elaborate masks, I'm struck with how tired everyone looks. Many conversations are superficial and guarded. Several times I've caught the real faces of people with masks removed when they thought no one was looking. Theirs is a deep, lonely pain in their expression. I'm starting to think differently too. The comfort I felt when I got here is fading. I'm carrying this tension, like if I don't measure up, I'll be shunned. Oh, and I'll be shunned by God too. Here's another thing. Despite all my passionate sincerity, I keep sinning. Then I get fixated on trying not to sin. Then it all repeats. Same sin, same thoughts, same failure. I spend more time alone now. It's hard to be in public very long before my mask starts to itch fiercely. I spend more time preparing to be with people than I spend actually being with people. I can't seem to do enough to make these people, or God for that matter, happy. Increasingly, the path to pleasing God seems to be about how I can keep God pleased with me. Let me read that sentence again. Increasingly, the path to pleasing God seems to be about how I can keep pleasing God. I want to say this right because it's a good truth. Increasingly, the path to pleasing God seems to be about how I can keep God pleased with me. One day it dawns me what I've been doing to myself and to everyone around me. I've been trying to meet some lofty expectation, primarily to gain acceptance from people. I don't even know why I'm performing for them. To satisfy a God I'm not sure I can ever please? Even worse, I expect everyone around me to do the same. There's no denying the appeal of the room of good intentions, but the room is predicated on a lie, producing many sad consequences. For instance, when we embrace the path to this room, we reduce godliness to a formula. Here's the formula. More right behavior plus less wrong behavior equals godliness. There's only one thing wrong with that equation. It completely disregards the righteousness God has already placed in us. Yes, we mature in godliness, but if we disregard the righteousness that results from trusting what God has done in us, we're hiding who we truly are. This path is cruel in its heroic-sounding deception, partly because it never allows us to see fundamental truth, and that truth is we can never resolve our sin by working on it. We may externally sublimate behavior, but we're essentially repositioning the chair a bit on the deck of a sinking ship. When we strive to sin less, we don't. Worse, the whole hamster wheel effort of it all causes us to lose hope that anything will ever break through. In fact, this patch actually seals us in immaturity. Even though this distorted theology breaks our hearts over and over, we desperately keep trying. It's a wicked hoax. Now back to the allegory. Now I'm frantically working my way through the room, searching for anyone willing to talk about what's going on inside of me, but nobody wants to hear it. It's as if they fear expressing my concerns will expose theirs. So even though I was certain this room might be my only real chance of getting it right, I find myself slipping out the door unnoticed. I thought I'd never leave, and I crushed. A few hours later, I'm sitting down at the grassy edge of the path, back at the fork in the road. Now what? My eyes drift back up to that sign, and I read the arrow pointing down the road to the right, trusting God. I shake my head, look up, and ask the sky, is there a third road? Nothing. I head down the right fork. The path is rougher here, rutted and pockmarked with stones. It's a little steeper and slower going, but prettier too. There are roughly hewn stone bridges over fast-flowing creeks and scenic vistas over vast green valleys. After several hours, I see another huge building in the distance. When I finally reach it, I see these words emblazoned in all tall bronze letters across the facade. It says, "Living out of who God says I am." That's supposed to help me? How? I've been trying to live out what God wants me to be this whole time. Again, there's a huge wooden double door, and again, there's a plaque over the knob. But this time, there's only one word written over it. Humility. Suddenly, every effort of this entire journey collapses on me. Tears I've kept back so long well up as I mumble through my sobs. I'm so tired, I can't do it. Help me, God. You're more wise, more right, and more loving, and I have not let you love me. I fought so hard to impress you, and none of it did. Now I'm weary, empty, and alone. I'm tired of performing. I'm tired of pretending. I can't please you by any amount of effort. Help me, my God. After minutes in front of that door, I wipe my wet eyes and nose on my sleeve. I run my fingers through my hair, and I desperately pull myself together. If this is anything like the last time, I want to make a good first impression, and puffy eyes and tear-streaked cheeks won't do. Finally, I reach for the knob. Inside, it's much like the other room. The layout is nearly the same, though the decor is toned down. The gold leaf and marble are replaced by warm carved wood and polished stone. The intricate details in every adornment are conspicuously missing, replaced by tasteful simplicity. Instead of sofas draped in shimmering silk, there are overstuffed couches and chairs. There are also more windows. Natural light pours in, and I can see the views outside are breathtaking. Glass doors lead out onto porches and decks scattered with Adirondack chairs. Another hostess approaches. Like the hostess in the room of good intentions, she is gorgeous, but her beauty is natural. She smiles, and I notice her eyes are smiling too. I realize with the start that the other hostess never smiled with her eyes. In a voice as beautiful as anything I've ever heard, she says, barely above a whisper, "Hello, welcome to the room of grace." Then, with a pause and a smile, she clasps my hands in hers. "How are you?" The last time I answered this one, I was handed a mask. This hostess is nicer, but I'm not convinced. Fine, I'm doing fine. The whole room is watching me now, and I see eyebrows tilted in skepticism. My heart sinks. I'm so tired of this. I turn toward the room, all eyes are on me, and I yell out so everyone can hear. "Hey, everybody, listen up. I'm not fine. Not fine at all. I haven't been fine for a long time. I'm tired, confused, angry, and afraid. I feel guilty and lonely, and that makes me even angrier. I'm sad most of the time, and I pretend I'm not. My life is not working at the moment. I'm so far behind and freaked out about what to do next, I'm almost completely frozen. And if any of you religious kooks knew half of my daily thoughts, you'd kick me out of your little club. So again, I'm doing not fine. Thanks for asking. I think I'll go now. I turn toward the door before I have a chance to break down again. As I grab the knob, a voice booms from the back of the room. Is that it? Is that all you got? I'll take your anger, guilt, and dark thoughts, and I'll raise you compulsive sin and a chronic lower back. Oh, and did I mention I'm in debt up to my ears? I also wouldn't know classical music from a show tune if it jumped up and bit me. You better get a lot more than your little list. The room erupts in warm, gentle laughter. And I know it's not meant to embarrass me. The hostess leans in, nudges me, and kindly smiles. I think what he's trying to say is, you're welcome here. I step into a crowd of welcoming smiles, and there's not a mask to be seen anywhere. Right away, I wish I'd known these people all my life. Whenever you're tempted to think you don't belong, that you have failed too often, failed too big, or are not meant to be close to God, just then, someone maybe sitting very close to you will smile and kindly say, is that all you got? It's their way of saying, you're welcome here. I know on my journey I've constantly had to remind myself that it's a journey of trust, not pleasing God. You see, Jesus did all the work for me on the cross. God is not disappointed in me because he sees me as one who Christ died for and has forgiven. I hope when you're tempted to fall in your trap of performance and pleasing God and measuring up and make everyone like you and look perfect all the time, I hope this little parable reminds you, you don't have to. That's the beauty of God's grace. He takes us just the way we are. I hope this has encouraged your heart.